Hello, everyone. I'm very honored and happy to be here with you at the first Iranian Congress of Positive Psychology. I've met so many wonderful people from Iran over the years at positive psychology conferences and elsewhere, and have always left those interactions with a sense of warmth and genuineness and feeling uplifted. So I'm sure you're all having a great experience so far as well. So, my name is Dr. Ryan Nemec, and I'm a psychologist and author of a number of books in this field. And my main work is I'm the education director of the VIA Institute on Character. And the VIA Institute on Character is a nonprofit organization located in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is in the Midwest of the United States. And the work of the VIA Institute is to bridge the science and the practice of character strengths. So, to know what is going on in terms of any research, any science going on around the world in character strengths, and what are the best practices, the best ways that people are applying this work, and then to create a bridge between the two. So, I'm very happy to be able to do that kind of work. So, what are character strengths? Well, character strengths are these positive aspects of our personality, and they are important for at least three different ways. They are part of our core identity, they make up who we are. And second, they produce positive outcomes. They are linked with more achievement in life, they're linked with better relationships, they're linked with greater health, they're linked with feeling a sense of meaning in life, more productive at work, more productive at school, all of these different positive outcomes. Almost any kind of positive outcome you could want for yourself or your loved ones. Character strengths seem to be connected there. And then third, these positive parts of our personality are really these elements that help us to create a better world, a better society. Just imagine that with these character strengths of curiosity and love and gratitude and leadership and teamwork and fairness and forgiveness and creativity and perspective and bravery and so on, these are important for creating a better society, better cities, stronger families, and so on. So that's the work that I get to play around with in my daily life and in my personal life and then in my work life. So I'm going to continue to share a little bit here about character strengths with you, and also I'm going to be talking about mindfulness, and then we'll conclude with a bit of discussion not only on how they're linked with health, but also how we can bridge the two together. So if we look just very briefly on the history of character strengths, this all started in the late 1990s when researchers began to ask the question of what is best about human beings? What really constitutes a flourishing life? What are the best qualities valued across cultures, across nations, across belief systems in human beings that just make up our humanness? And a team of 55 researchers set forth to answer those questions. And so they reviewed the various philosophical and theological and religious works on virtue, on strength, on ethics, on different positive qualities that have been brought forth in the last 2,600 years. And what they found in analyzing these great works, these great thinkers, and applying various criteria, they found that there are at least 24 character strengths, core qualities of human identity, 24 of them that make up what's best about us. And that then became what's known as the VIA classification. By the way, the word VIA is a word that stands on its own. Previously, that actually was an acronym for values in action, which is true. These 24 strengths are values that we can put into action. But the emphasis of the work is less on values, which tend to live in our head, they live in our thinking and in our feelings, and more about core character, because that's about not only who we are, but it's about putting forth that identity into the world. It's about action, our behavior. So the emphasis then is placed on character. So via Institute on Character, via classification of character strengths. And there is also a measurement tool to measure these character strengths called the VIA survey. And so this has been around for about 15 years or so and has gone through different scientific improvements to make it a stronger and stronger test in terms of the psychometrics that make up a good test, in terms of its applicability, its usability, and so on. And so this VIA survey now has been taken by over 8 million people. It's reached every country around the world. It's been translated into something like 42 languages. And literally, it's being taken every 15 seconds of every minute of every day by somebody somewhere in the world. So perhaps many of you have already taken the VIA survey. Now, the VIA survey has been translated into Farsi, Persian, and that took place about 10 years ago or so, and a number of other languages. Now, if you look at the highest character strengths of people in Iran, you might be interested to know what the top 5 are. And this is just one small sample. It's obviously not every person in Iran, but in one sample, what was found is the highest strengths were honesty, gratitude, fairness, kindness, and judgment critical thinking. And as I look at these strengths of honesty, gratitude, fairness, kindness, and judgment, I see this beautiful blend of heart strengths and mind strengths. So there's these heart feeling oriented character strengths among the Iranian people, but then also there are these mind oriented, thinking oriented, logic, analysis based strengths. So I just find that to be a beautiful blend in that sense, and perhaps you see that already in people in your neighborhoods, in your families, in your loved ones, in your clients, and the people you work with, and maybe even in yourself. So speaking of yourself, what are your highest strengths? So what are your highest strengths on the VIA survey? And you might think about the 24 character strengths and then see, what are my highest 5 strengths? What are those that are most core to who I am as a person? Most part of my identity that help me to achieve more, that help me to relate more to other people, that help me to pursue different health outcomes, that help me to be a better parent. Because that's what these top strengths do. These top character strengths in us are unique to us, and they help us to become better versions of ourselves. They help us to reach those different outcomes that we're pursuing in life. So very exciting work, and I would encourage all of you to know your top 5, at least, character strengths. Again, we call these signature strengths, and to use them more in your life. Because what's been found in study after study after study across different cultures, by the way, that if you can use your highest strengths, your signature strengths, in at least one new way each day, that's linked with longer lasting happiness and longer benefits to less depression, as well as more likely to be flourishing in life, more likely to be using your strengths in your life, more positive emotions in your life. All of these outcomes have been found in a recent meta-analysis of signature strengths and in many of these different studies. So something quite simple to do. I mean, I'm not sitting here asking you to do something that takes an hour every day. We're saying with whatever you're doing already, just bring in your best qualities a little bit more mindfully, with a little bit more consciousness to have an impact. Now, I want to get into health outcomes with regard to both mindfulness and character strengths. And let me start with character strengths since I'm already on that topic. So character strengths have been linked with health in a lot of different ways. I mean, you can take the approach of looking at specific strengths. So you can say, oh, look, what are the gratitude studies showing? And gratitude has been linked with various elements of physical health. Other strengths that have been linked with physical health are forgiveness and hope and love, humor, zest or vitality, spirituality, and self-regulation, just to name several of the strengths. Um, so that's just looking at specific strengths. And then we could step back and say, well, what about valued outcomes in terms of health? Those different health behaviors that we pursue in life. And so there was one study that looked at different character strengths that are connected with different elements of having a healthy lifestyle. So having an active way of life is particularly linked with the strength of zest, the strength of hope, the strength of humor, and curiosity. Or you might look at the outcome of better health hygiene, and that's linked with the strengths of perseverance and honesty and prudence. Or you can look at having a healthier diet, and the most significant strength there is the strength of self-regulation. So we can look at strengths in health in that way very specifically or more broadly in that sense. And I'll just mention as well that we can also look at how character strengths weave into programs. So if you're creating any kind of wellness program or any kind of health program, any kind of well-being program, then character strengths absolutely should be a key element there. And just to give you one example, one of my colleagues is named Steve Leventhal, and he has brought character strengths and many elements of positive psychology to many different parts of the world that have not really gotten a chance to see much of positive psychology. And so one country in particular is India. And so Steve and his team have worked with thousands of young women, young girls, around different health outcomes. And what they found in randomized controlled trials, that those young girls that go through programs that have character strengths as a focus, as opposed to programs that don't have that, they do much better. So they do better on physical elements, and they do better on mental health elements, and so on. And so very empowering. What could be more empowering for a young person, or an older person perhaps, in terms of looking at your best qualities, being able to link within, see that you have these best qualities, and bring them out into the world. So very empowering kind of work that Steve Leventhal is doing, and many others are doing as well. And we could link this kind of work with all sorts of different health outcomes, whether it's using character strengths to try to adhere to an exercise regimen, or whether it's trying to have better sleep hygiene, a stronger meditation practice, and so on. So in terms of mindfulness meditation, the mindfulness literature is also pointing in the direction of benefits toward health and stress. It's not a blanket approach where it just helps with everything, but it's particularly helpful. There was one meta-analysis done that looked at mindfulness training and physical health, and it found that mindfulness can improve pain management for some chronic pain conditions, not all of them, but some of them. And it also helps with the coping and the stress related to other medical conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, psoriasis, diabetes, managing HIV, and other conditions. And then mindfulness training can also be particularly helpful for healthcare professionals, such as reducing burnout, reducing stress, managing depression and anxiety, and boosting well-being. So then if you have a stronger healthcare professional that's managing these physical and mental elements within themselves, then they're going to be that much more competent and able to deliver quality care to others. So that's a little bit on mindfulness. And I just want to also offer a clarity with the definition of mindfulness, because no matter who you ask about what mindfulness, how it might be defined, you'll get a different answer. So I always encourage people to use the consensual operational definition of mindfulness, quote unquote, the official scientific definition of mindfulness that was brought forth by a number of researchers from a variety of countries that looked at the research on mindfulness, and they looked at what the gurus in mindfulness say, they look at what the scientists say, and they came up with a two-part definition for mindfulness. This was about 15 years ago, published in a prominent psychology journal. And what they found is that mindfulness is really two parts. It's the self-regulation of our attention, and it's an attitude of curiosity, openness, and acceptance. So again, it's about taking control of where you put your attention on. Are you going to put your attention on your loved one's smile? Are you going to put your focus on your breathing? Are you going to put your focus on a health goal? And then with however you put your focus, to use that attitude of curiosity and interest, to be open to the experience in the present moment, and to be accepting of it as it is in this unfolding present moment. So that's the operational definition of mindfulness. And interestingly, you might have heard there's two character strengths in that definition. Self-regulation and curiosity are right there at the very core of mindfulness. So in that sense, you cannot separate mindfulness and character strengths. There's a sense of oneness between the two. And that's been a part of my work. I have lots of different moving parts of my work, but a big part of my work is on the integration of mindfulness and character strengths, bringing these two areas that are the backbones of positive psychology, these two key processes going on in human beings, the process and potential to be mindful, and these elements and these capacities of character strengths, and how they work together synergistically. So my work is around how to use character strengths to then boost up your meditation practice, or boost up your mindful eating practice, or your mindful walking practice, and then vice versa, to use mindfulness as a lens, this attitude of curiosity and openness and acceptance, to use that as a lens to using your strengths in a balanced way, to using your strengths appropriate to the situation that you're in, to using your strengths a little bit more in your life or in your work, with your families. So lots of potential when we bring these two elements together. And I've done this formally in an 8-week program that I created. It's called Mindfulness-Based Strengths Practice, MBSP, Mindfulness-Based Strengths Practice, which is now, we can consider it an evidence-based program because it has a number of research studies supporting it. And even when it's gone head-to-head with the leading mindfulness program in the world, mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSP has fared better in certain outcomes, like MBSP is linked with greater work performance than MBSR was, and greater workplace satisfaction. And they fared equally in terms of boosting well-being and managing stress. So lots of promising possibilities there with this 8-week program, Mindfulness-Based Strengths Practice. So I hope there's people in the audience that will be interested in translating that program and studying it and publishing on it. And if you are, I'm happy to help and support. And really that goes beyond just MBSP. For those that are interested in character strengths and this work, feel free to email me. Feel free to connect with me, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can. There are now 17, and I'll offer my email here in a moment. There are now 17 different measures, different assessment instruments that researchers around the world are using for free that are all available through the VIA Institute website. So if you go through the researchers tab at viacharacter.org, you'll see those instruments that you can use freely in your studies or with your students and so on. And of course, you can take the free VIA survey there. And you can learn about any of the 24 strengths there. You can get various resources, watch videos, and so on. So if I was to offer you next steps, I would encourage you to obviously take the VIA survey to begin spotting strengths in yourself and in others. It's a good first step to look for these qualities. Look for these character strengths in your patients, in your clients, in your family members, your children, your significant others, all the people in your life. And to be bringing in a conscious way these character strengths into your health. So to use them to help you to get better sleep. So to use your prudence and your self-regulation to do that. To use them in improving your social life, which we know affects physical health. So using your forgiveness, your fairness to become a better friend, a better work colleague. So using these strengths to then create better outcomes. So those would be some early things I would recommend. If you want to go even further, of course, I have a number of books. I have some books that I've written for professionals called Mindfulness and Character Strengths, and another one is called Character Strengths Interventions. So those are the main books on the topic of character strengths for professionals, and a couple main books for people in the general public or for clients or students to use that are easy, user-friendly books on the 24 strengths. And those are called The Power of Character Strengths with my colleague and senior scientist at the VIA Institute, Bob McGrath. And then there's a book on stress called the Strengths-Based Workbook for Stress Relief. Those last two books just came out this year. So, with that, I want to offer a bow of gratitude to all of you for your attentiveness and for your interest in this topic of character strengths and mindfulness for health. And I'm confident that we're making the world healthier, making the world stronger. So, keep up the great work. My email is ryan@viacharacter.org. ryan@viacharacter.org. And I hope to meet you at a future conference or some other event. Take care, everybody.